Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
He's rusty, I think, but it's 10 days out, so he's catching up. He was good with all the things. He was a little slow with his reads, I thought. We had the 2-minute drill, and he was kind of, and I know it was just kind of a walkthrough thing, but, he needs to speed up the tempo a little bit.
Is it realistic to get him in the game on Saturday?
No.
What about Christian Darrisaw? Do you expect him to get any work these couple days, or is he out probably?
He's probably out.
All right, plenty to get to. Purple Daily, as always, presented by our good friends and my very special friends. In fact, they may be my BFFs for life. Surly Brewing Company. We love Surly. And we come to you from the TCL studios. Enjoy more on Surly in a bit. But that was probably a surly, I would imagine, and I don't mean this in the beer way, the good way. Head coach Mike Zimmer of the Minnesota Vikings addressing a few topics there yesterday before the joint practice between the Vikings and Broncos at TCO Performance Center. The first thing he's talking about is the status of Kellen Mond, who just came back to practice after a 10-day quarantine and being out with COVID-19. He's been back now for 2 days, took part in practice yesterday, pretty much in full. We'll talk about that in a moment, but the breaking news that we just got from our buddy Darren Doogie Wolfson, Eyewitness News, Channel 5 downstairs from us, and then, of course, of the Scoop podcast. The breaking news and the second thing Zimmer addressed, Declan Goff, was this. Christian Darrisaw. Christian Darrisaw was the only player from the Vikings who was not spotted on the field yesterday, which led us to believe that he was probably not in Eagan and was somewhere else, and we didn't know why. Now, we do know that his recovery from core muscle surgery in January has been incredibly slow and actually seems to be going backwards. And so what Doogie told us was a source informed him Christian Darrisaw was seeing a core muscle specialist yesterday in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for what clearly is a second or third opinion, meaning that the fear that his surgery the first time didn't take care of it is definitely a founded fear. And unfortunately, I'm going to put the pieces of the puzzle together, okay? This does not bode well for Christian Darrisaw playing anytime soon. This means, as we have talked about and suspected for a while with Phil, who, by the way, on vacation until Monday, but he will be back, that Christian Darrisaw is going to be out for possibly, we don't know this for sure, an extended period. But this is not a good start, and I am going to sound the alarm officially, Declan Goff. In fact, go ahead and play the alarm.
I'll play that for you.
Yeah. I'm going to sound the alarm officially, and I'm going to tell you this. Right now, I hate to say this. It's just I don't want to be this guy, but I always am. But I have to be. Right now, as we sit here, joint practice number 2 between the Broncos and Vikings today, preseason game on Saturday at US Bank Stadium. The Vikings offensive line for the September 12th season opener against the Bengals in Cincinnati. There's no question it's worse than last year. Yeah. There's no question. And I'm going to go to the most important thing. And I really believe the thing that has become just such a huge misconception, Dex, which is, well, the whole line stunk. Actually, the tackles were pretty good. Brian O'Neill at right tackle is damn good. Riley Reif, who is now, by the way, with the Bengals at left tackle, had a above average, solid season. Christian Darrisaw was supposed to step in and play for him. We don't know when Christian Darrisaw is now going to be able to play, if he is, in 2021. Rashad Hill is a really nice backup swing tackle. He is a nice option. He's the type of guy that you want on your 53 who can step in if necessary, short term, like a backup cornerback who you might like, but you don't want to give him extended playing time. And you especially don't want to have to be forced to do that at left tackle, protecting Kirk Cousins' blind side. Now you are. Wyatt Davis, Declan, currently remains with the third team. Okay. So he might have had a decent day against the Broncos, but he's playing against third team guys. Denver brought everybody. So it's not like Wyatt Davis has stepped in at right guard and is going great guns. And, oh, man, this looks good. The reality is the competition for the starting position at right guard is a converted tackle in, again, Mackey's guy, Oli Udoh, and Dakota Dozier. And Dakota Dozier continues to get reps. Like, let's not, Dukes laughed, and I know we all do, and said, well, of course, let's not fool ourselves and think Dakota Dozier is going to start. But I'm telling you right now, I think that Oli Udoh has a leg up and a step up, but it's not a big one. It's like a half a step. And Dakota Dozier is getting regular first-team reps. And then I want to give you, I hate doing this. Hate it. I hate it. It's my job, though. Then I want to give you what I saw yesterday at TCO. So you're guilty of this. Mackey is guilty of this. So am I. So are all fans. We can't be blamed. But you know, Dex, we make a lot of assumptions, and football might be our worst one. Baseball, we're bad too, though, because we're like the Twins pitching. It'll be fine. Well, it's not fine. But our assumption has been that Ezra Cleveland drafted as a left tackle out of college, and then switched to right guard, and he was an improvement on Drew Samia. You could have been an improvement on Drew Samia, unfortunately. Has now been converted to left guard. And I've been talking like, oh, it's going to work fine. It's going to work. Oh, yeah. Nah, no problems at all. Can tell you right now, Ezra Cleveland in the practice yesterday at times got pushed around. It wasn't real pretty. And, you know, he's now going from right guard to left guard. He might be fine eventually. I'm not sounding the alarm there, but I'm saying we just haven't talked about him. Me too. I've just been like, oh, that's going to work out perfect. Is it from day one? Is it going to work out perfect? Or are there going to be growing pains there? So I am sounding the alarm and saying I have genuine concern. And I've been to every training camp practice, but the one walkthrough on Tuesday. I have genuine concern now with Darrisaw out. We don't know how long. With Wyatt Davis nowhere near being capable of starting. With Dakota Dozier still vying for the first team job. With Garrett Bradbury potentially having two guards around him who might not be great, which means he suffers more. And I saw a ranking, Declan, a couple days ago. Somebody sent me a ranking of every center in the National Football League. Care to guess where Garrett Bradbury was?
Of the 32 qualified?
Yes, sir. 32 starters. You are
32.
Correct. He was 32. So if Ezra Cleveland scuffles a bit, and let's say he does, and that does not mean he's a bad player, but you know what? He's moving again. So let's say Ezra Cleveland scuffles a bit. Garrett Bradbury continues to be pretty good against the run, but gets pushed back and is sort of lost, which he might be against the pass. And now your right guard might be dicey. And now your left tackle might be dicey.
Yeah.
I don't know that trying to talk people off the ledge on this one is a good idea, because I think we need to be prepared for what we might see, and by extension, what Kirk Cousins might see.
Yeah, this is not going according to plan. If you're looking at this offensive line, just to not even beat around the bush, you and I talked about not necessarily wasting the resources, because the resources have been addressed, but the identification, and maybe there's bad luck. You know, I mean, who would have thought that this Darrisaw injury was going to be lingering this long? Did we also overevaluate how the impact of Wyatt Davis stepping in day one? But you know, Judd, I'm gonna do something here, because it is Reckless Speculation Thursday on Mackey and Judd. Let me throw some reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation
At you here on Purple Daily. You know, there's still some free agent tackles out there, and at this point, I'm sorry, I don't care. He's getting reps. I don't trust Rashad Hill. I don't trust the tackles if it's indeed outside of Brian O'Neill on this team. And I know this guy has also still battled injuries, but I think if you're Rick Spielman, you pick up the phone and you call Russell Okung, former tackle of the Panthers, and get him signed here immediately. Get him in here immediately. He made $13 million last year. He's missed, I believe, a dozen games or so over the last 2 years. At this point, you need someone. You need stability. The way it's constructed right now, there's zero chance you can roll with these options. I would pick up the phone. You have $13 million in cap space. You know, give him a small amount and maybe escalate it up if he is able to play in a bunch of games or hits a snap count, whatever the hell it is. I think you have to pick up the phone and call a tackle right now or make a trade for a tackle. I don't know how you can go into this season with this offensive line as it's currently constructed in the first team reps at the first week of training camp. And I think we'll even see, and we saw some of this yesterday in the joint Broncos practice, I think you're going to see when actually that first preseason game gets rolling on Saturday. And I know it's a preseason game. It's not as intense, blah, blah, blah. I think that's going to be the eye-opening fact of we can't do this. And we need some type of stability. We need some more help. Pick up the phone, Rick Spielman, friend of the show, as I like to call you, and sign Russell Okung.
Rick's a friend of the show?
I'm going to call him a friend of the show.
I don't think he's a friend of the show at all.
He hasn't dubbed it yet. He hasn't been on it, but I just like to think he is.
I don't know if he ever will appear on it.
I just like to think he is. Yeah.
I love your idea. I love it. If you don't have the player right, I still don't care. I love the idea. Like, yes, you need to get help in here. This is, I'm just saying, like, this is a word of warning right now. What you're right. It's not going to work. Like, it's not. How can your offensive line has been spotty for a long time now. And you know what? You tried. Drafted the guy in the first round. You drafted the guy in the third round, but they're not going to play. Again, we get in trouble with assumptions. Ezra Cleveland's going to be fine. Now, I'm not saying he shouldn't win that job. He will be the opening day left guard. But what I'm saying is if he struggles, it's going to be very disingenuous of us, right? To be like, how the hell did that happen? Well, it happened because he switched positions again to another guard spot. He was a tackle. I think we always sort of just like halfway assume, because I've been saying this, right? Garrett Bradbury, this is the year. This is the year for Garrett Bradbury. But what if it's not? He's going to go up against a lot of top-end defensive tackles. He faces one in practice all the time now. Michael Pierce, who we'll talk about, Declan looks fantastic. But you know what? He's also really good, and he destroys Bradbury. So it's good the Vikings have improved that position, but the reality is the division has some really good defensive tackles. So I'm with you. I think if nothing else, you probably have to hope that Oliudo at right guard works. I think you make a call on a tackle. I think I think you're exactly right.
You have to.
And it doesn't mean that Rashad Hill won't start week 1, but it does mean that Rashad Hill, he is a guy who is most valuable off the bench. It's that simple. And the longer that you have to put him as a piece of the puzzle in which he's not at his best, the more it's going to be a problem. And his, I believe Mike was asked about him a couple days ago, and Mike likes him, but Zimmer said, I believe his biggest problem is not pass protection. It's run blocking, but guess what the Vikings love to do? They love to run the football. So there's no good way to sell this thing. And if Christian Darrisaw is continuing to see specialists, you need a plan B right now.
Yep.
You need, and Dex, we have seen this team go through this exact song and dance at left tackle before and like plug a guy in. When's the last time that worked? When they let McKinney go because his cholesterol was through the roof, I think it was in 11, because I think it was Frazier's first full year. And they asked poor Charlie Johnson to start at left tackle. It's right before they drafted Khalil, who is a different story. But Charlie Johnson was just like Hill. He came in, is like, yeah, I can start. And he had been the left tackle for Peyton Manning with the Colts. But the difference there was Peyton got rid of the ball really, really quick. Kirk Cousins, not so much. So I think you hit it. I think you need to have a backup plan. You need to be able to make a phone call and get at least a tackle here who you think can compete there. Because this just isn't, by the day, this looks less workable to me.
Absolutely. Well, the good news is for any of these free agent tackles, or maybe a free agent to be tackle, is you can go to Burnsville Heating and Air because they're hiring right now. They're hiring new construction HVAC installers. They'll give you job training. Now, if you have experience in this, great. But guess what? Maybe a guy like Rashad Hill or maybe a guy like Russell Okung who has no experience in HVAC, I'm assuming, they will train you. And the best part is they will also bring you to job sites. So let's say, you grew up in Stillwater. Well, Burnsville, that's a haul. That's a good 40 minutes down the interstate. No. They will find you the work. They'll find you the work in the Lake Elmo, Stillwater, East Side area, and they will bring you to the work. And they also will receive a $2,000 sign-on bonus. A sign-on bonus sounds excellent to me. I've been looking for a sign-on bonus for a long time. And you can get one at Burnsville Heating and Air. Check them out. We've even seen some people from Score North that have applied for this. So thank you very much for everyone for reaching out to them. But Burnsville Heating and Air, thank you for sponsoring programming on Purple Daily.
That's exactly right. Don't confuse the name with the location of where you have to work. That's the key. All right. Topic 2.
Okay.
And I'm going to start positive here. I have to start.
Right. I will get some. Let me get some maestro music here for you too. By the way.
Okay.
There you go. Yep.
Okay. So topic 2, I'm going to transition to the quarterback position.
All right.
Kellen Mond has been back at practice now for 2 days. According to the quotes I saw, because I was not there on Tuesday for what was essentially a walkthrough, Kellen Mond looked rusty on Tuesday, but that's no surprise because he was coming off COVID and had participated in meetings, I believe, via Zoom for 10 days of quarantine, but hadn't taken part in football practice. Well, he shook off a bit of that rust. Third team reps on Wednesday against the Broncos. I saw a couple nice passes. Touchdown passes, Declan Goff. Threw one to Amir Smith-Marset, who I think is going to make this roster and who gets more and more playing time. Unfortunately, in the one-on-one drills between the Vikings receivers and the Broncos cornerbacks, Blake Prohl appeared to tear up his knee, and it was not pretty. And so Amir Smith-Marset is getting a ton of work. He caught a touchdown pass from Mond. And then Mond's most impressive touchdown pass, because it went to identifying the situation, a touchdown pass to tight end / punter Zach Davidson, in which he made a really nice read, saw the defensive back sort of bail out, and the tight end ended up in sort of a cushion, so in a zone that had been vacated, caught the pass, went into the end zone. Kellen Mond looked pretty good. Good. I still see that. It's weird, Dex. I still see the hitch at times, but I don't see it every time he throws. That was good. The second bit of good news on the quarterbacks is if he's truly going to be the backup to Kirk, and that's the desire for Jake Browning. If he's going to be the backup QB, the desire there is going to reside on, do you see him check off enough boxes, right? For him to graduate from 2 years on practice squad to being the guy who, if Kirk gets hurt or gets sick, has to play. And I have seen, especially when Kirk was gone too, on a 5-day quarantine, and Mond was out for 10 days. Jake Browning looked solid. I thought he was a little bit shaky at times in the Saturday practice at US Bank Stadium. But for the most part, I was impressed. Again, yesterday, he looked solid. He looks like he knows what he's doing, and he doesn't look like it's too big for him. I would expect him to play extensively on Saturday in the game against the Broncos. But the point being is, I think the only thing that you can do here is determine, does he look like it would overwhelm him if he had to play? And he does not. That's good news, because the only real reference points to build here are practice and games, right? So I liked what I saw there. I'm going to end with this. Since coming back from his quarantine, and make of this what you will, it might mean nothing, okay? So don't shoot the messenger. Okay. Kirk Cousins' timing has looked off. Kirk Cousins' passes at times have completely sailed. Kirk was asked about this in his press conference yesterday and said, no, since I've come back, it's been fine. I'm doing fine. I'm doing fantastic. The performances in practice, not every pass, but say otherwise at times. Kirk Cousins, so Zim wouldn't say how much the starters are going to play because he's old school on Saturday against the Broncos. But I got to think Cousins gets a series, and he needs to start to get his rhythm and timing down a bit more, because I don't think that you can sit out 5 days unless you're Brady or something, right?
Right.
And come back and be absolutely fine. So that's the one thing I would caution, is that the rest of this camp for Kirk, it's not that it needs to be big throws. It's not that it needs to be impressive plays. Mm-hmm. It needs to be it needs to be getting back his timing and ability to be in sync with his guys. And the reason why I think I'm right about this is he did have a couple nice passes, probably more than two, to Thielen yesterday, so that's there still. But when it comes to KJ Osborne, Jefferson is still out with the shoulder problem, so he's not practicing. But when it comes to the other receivers, I think he needs to get that timing back.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Kellen Mond hitch thing, I'm not going to pretend to be a quarterback guru. I like to make fun of quarterbacks and like to criticize quarterbacks. But mechanically, I'm not going to pretend like I know what I'm looking at there. The Zach Davidson guy, tight end that they drafted, the D2 stud, like 20 touchdowns or something last year in Division II football. He's just an absolute animal. Yep. Yeah, Kellen Mond is probably obviously tracking to still make the roster, but be QB3 essentially with Jake Browning or maybe even someone who we don't know backing up Kirk Cousins yet. I'm curious how Kellen Mond is able to catch up to speed here. He missed 10 days of camp basically. It's not detrimental to his development, but it's worth bringing up. It's obviously still worth bringing up, and I'm curious how fast he can get up to speed. And if I'm Kellen Mond and I want to get up to speed, well, I'm going to go up to Brainerd International Raceway and check out these lightning fast drag races traveling at 330 miles per hour. And there's something for everyone here. There's kids involved. There's families involved. You can camp there. Enjoy 4 days of heart-pounding, lightning-fast drag racing, and races will be pushing themselves and their cars to the limits at the NHRA Lucas Oil Nationals at Brainerd International Raceway. For more information, along with tickets and camping, that's BIRMN.com, BIRMN.com, Brainerd International Raceway.
Joint practice talking point 3, Declan Goff, and I think the rest of these are going to be good news. Okay, so these are all going to be good news from the Vikings' perspective. One of the best players on the field for the Vikings on Wednesday, I think, pretty easily. Again, Michael Pierce. So the calf problem that kept him out or off the field, at least for full teamwork at the start of training camp, seems to be a thing of the past. I don't know if or how much he'll play Saturday. He might not, but he had 2 one-on-one reps against Broncos linemen yesterday and won them both. He batted down a Teddy pass. That's right. Your guy Teddy threw a pass, batted down by Pierce, and broke through for what could have been a sack, which was a pleasant surprise because I think in his career with the Ravens, he only had 3.5 career sacks. But he is, for a mammoth man, he gets through the line pretty well. Michael Pierce, to me, is going to be exactly what the Vikings thought. And again, this is the thing about when you get good players in this defense. They can absolutely thrive, especially good veteran players. Michael Pierce and Dalvin Tomlinson alone, provided that both of them can stay on the field consistently, are going to cause a seismic shift, no pun intended, in this defensive line where they're going to stop the run and they're going to get a push that the Vikings against the pass never got last year. And I think it starts with Pierce. I think this guy is a special talent. And as I told you and Phil, I think it was on the show on Monday or Tuesday, I absolutely love a big man who can play. And I think the Vikings have again hit in Pierce, at least, if not Tomlinson too, but Pierce has definitely stood out more. They have hit on a guy in Michael Pierce that can 1000% play and is going to be a big reason why I think this team, especially against the run, is going to be damn good after being awful last season.
Oh, God, they were a sieve against the run. And look, Michael Pierce is not going to be someone who's racking up sacks. He's going to be plugging, A-gaps and plugging holes and getting after guards and swallowing those up and still creating some QB hurries and maybe some tackles for losses. But yeah, they needed someone on that defensive tackle side, nose tackle side that can cure things up. And it sounds like, he has been the darling and noticeable in a good way player at training camp so far through the first couple weeks at TCO, and good for him. He sat out last year due to COVID protocols or the COVID situation, I should say, and he was in tremendous shape, did a bunch of CrossFit. I know he had a little injury to start, but then is clearly back and ready to rock. And yeah, you are right. There is something about a big fat guy who knows what he's doing.
It makes you feel better.
And it does. And some sports fans, my sister-in-law always used to get after this. Like, I don't understand. They're not athletic. They're just humongous. Like, no, these men are some of the most athletic human beings on the planet. Just because they're big, just because if you saw them on the street, you might think, well, that's a big guy, but few people can do what these nose tackles and defensive tackles can do, and Michael Pierce is going to be a big, big reason why the Vikings will be much better against the run this season.
Go back now and search through the clips that came out of yesterday's practice on Twitter and find the Michael Pierce clips and tell me that man is not athletic. It is incredible. Now your sister's sort of right about the real old school guys who would just stand there and occupy space, which was my perception of what Pierce was going to be. But he can move a little bit too. And yeah, there is just something. There's something that makes you feel as a football fan really sad when a running back just goes right through that A gap every time and a team can't stop it. And it's like mildly athletic, not really big guys who are just grabbing and reaching and getting beat. Michael Pierce and Tomlinson ain't going to be that. So this is a huge, huge deal, an upgrade. And this is the thing, Dex, that I really like about the fact in taking a gamble, and it might not work, but in taking a gamble in saying, okay, we'll sign Patrick Peterson, a cornerback, and he's coming back off, back-to-back, not great years. But before that, he was essentially probably considered a Hall of Fame cornerback. I think when you plug them into this defense in particular, which is nuanced, but really, really sound, I think it's your best chance of getting what could be potentially a winning formula. Because, and this is why last year I didn't like the amount of rookies. I don't think that they can step in here and play. I think this takes time. Zim asks a ton, like he wants a ton. He spent, no surprise here, Dex, Mike Zimmer spent the entire, as far as I could tell, the entire practice yesterday on, I think, what would be considered field 3, watching the Vikings defense.
Yeah.
He would glance over at the offensive field, but they had the officials from the league who come out once a year and were there yesterday for the Broncos and Vikings. They had them on the field with the defense and the Broncos offense and Teddy and all those guys. So it's no surprise that Zim's defense requires a lot. And I think the more veterans who get it, who are good players, they might not still be great, but they're good, in Peterson's case, can be plugged in and work.
Yeah, I mean, he's a happy camper. If I'm Mike Zimmer, I totally get that. He's got his defense back. He's got these players plugged in, and I still have my doubts that they can just step in and be an elite defense again. But at the same time, I know Zimmer's a happy guy right now, and rightfully so. He deserves to be happy with this new look defense.
So do you have doubts about them being top 10? Because I think they can be top 10. I have doubts about top 5 is ideal. I have doubts about them being top 5.
I would have to be blown away for them to be top 10. There's 7 new guys here, and those that would mean that 7 guys hit their ceilings for them to return to top 10. And I just think that's too much of a gamble. That all 7 of those guys basically hit their ceilings. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Major downer.
I know.
All right, before we get to the next topic 4, which, by the way, is going to be more good news. That's right. Purple Daily, Zolgad, and Declan Goff. Preseason football starts this week. And the Purple is playing the Orange Crush on Saturday in a preseason game. And right now you're asking yourself, well, it's hot outside. I'm going to watch these games, but I got to have something to drink. What am I going to drink? It's at the top of your screen. If you are watching us on YouTube right now, the answer is right there. Join me in having a Surly. That's right. Now, I would go Surly Furious. There's a lot of great Surly products, Dex. Furious is my personal favorite, but, Coffee Bender, which I've had a couple of the last couple days, pretty good too. Here's the thing to know. Surly Furious is Minnesota's favorite IPA. Furious is the beer that helped put Minnesota's craft beer scene on the map. You do enough settling in your life. Amen. Crack open a Surly Furious and enjoy the IPA that revolutionized Minnesota craft beer. Don't settle. Get Surly and do it before the weekend so you can have your Surly and probably Surly Furious to watch the Purple on Saturday when they kick off against the Broncos. All right. More good news for you. And Saturday's game will help to start to really decide this, but I'm not going to discount it. yesterday in practice, Greg Joseph, who, by the way, Zimmer said will be the only guy to attempt field goals on Saturday and extra points. So he is the guy. Greg Joseph, 6 for 6 on Wednesday. And according to Vikings.com, which has been tracking Greg Joseph's entire training camp. So this is before yesterday, just all practices with the Vikings. 30 of 36, 83.3%. But 6 for 6 yesterday. At least you're tracking right. I seem to recall the last time the Vikings did a joint practice at TCO was against Jacksonville, and it was the year they drafted Daniel Carlson. And I think the first inkling that something might be off with Carlson, who, by the way, has turned out to be good for the Raiders. The first inkling, I think, was the first joint practice with Jacksonville. And I remember him being off on a side field. I think it was day 2 of the joint practices against Jacksonville before they played them in a preseason game, working basically by himself. And I'm like, oh, this is early to be trying to find yourself now.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get excited, but I'm not going to dismiss it. And this is another one. We can laugh about kicking all we want, and we can poo-poo it and be like, yeah, they'll find. We all know what the history of Zimmer and kickers is, and we all know, predating Mike, what the history of the Vikings and kickers is. This one is massively important. And by the way, if your defense is going to be as good as Zimmer thinks his defense is going to be, you're going to be potentially in lots of close games. And if you're in lots of close games, whoever kicks for you, whether it be, I think it's Riley Patterson is the kid that they have competing, or Greg Joseph, who I think is going to win the job, you're going to need that guy to hit absolutely essential pressure-packed field goals. So do not laugh about the kicker update. I realize this does not tell us the whole story, but it also can't be ignored.
No, absolutely. And kickers are something that have caused a lot of agony in my lifetime. I can make a case that they've caused me the most agony of all the positions. So if Greg Joseph is nailing these kicks, and I know he hasn't kicked an actual NFL field goal in 3 years, that is a little cause for concern. But 83%, I mean, what you would like your kickers to be hitting about 85 to 90. Anything outside of that is kind of that's not the place to be. But if he's nailing big time field goals, that's all I care about.
Yeah,
and all that matters. One job: hit your kicks up the upright. Greg Joseph.
All right, one more for you from training camp, from joint practice notes. Broncos, Vikings. That they will wrap up the 2-day session today, and then have Friday off, and then play a preseason game on Saturday. I'm going to give you a statement.
Okay.
It's this. Prepare yourself. So, as I said before, Declan, an officiating crew is here, throwing flags. They come in and talk to the players and show them the points of emphasis for the coming season. They've been doing this for years. They used to come to Mankato and actually address the players, and then us. I don't think they address us still. I'm not sure. But anyway, Broncos receiver caught in one-on-one yesterday. Broncos receiver caught what would have been a touchdown pass and fell to the ground, got up, spun the ball. So he did the old, spin the ball, right? Throw the ball to the ground and it spins around. Immediate flag. Prepare yourself.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to last all year, but I think the taunting crackdown is going to be reminiscent of the you can't put all your weight on the quarterback crackdown of a couple years back, which no question cost the Packers that game against the Vikings when Clay Matthews, I believe, sacked Cousins and landed on Kirk. Yep. And today they would never flag it, and they did because it was a point of emphasis. Well, this was the same sort of thing where, okay, you spun the ball. Immediate flag, though. We are going to see, I think, at least a solid month of any questionable that was close to taunting called. So just prepare yourself, because when this happens, it creates outrage, it creates a fury, and I don't disagree because it gets to be BS, but we're going to see it. They are going to be all over anything other than touchdown celebrations, which, by the way, if an individual player goes too far, he'll get flagged too. So if a guy scores a touchdown and does anything that's not seen as a team, action, we're going to see flags. We're going to see we're going to see at least 1 or 2 games be altered, I think, by this. And I hate it. And it's always ridiculous because by the time December hits, it won't happen. But I'm just saying the undisciplined teams better be cautious, and players, because what was allowed to happen a year ago is going to be called now. That's my final point.
Yeah, it's pretty frustrating. Just let players be players, man. Let them be athletes. This isn't, I'm not looking for life lessons on the football field. For God's sakes, just please, just let the players be the players. But unfortunately, this is going to be something that clearly is going to linger into the 2021 season. They always pick something. Hockey does this too. There's always some type of penalty, some type of thing that they're looking for.
You're so right.
It was face-offs in the NHL 2 years ago. Last year was, this. Yep, it'll be definitely cross-checking because of the Stanley Cup.
They're itching to call it.
So it is, it's frustrating. I don't want to have to see that, and a dumb flag is gonna get in there. But I will say, if you're about to taunt, how about you hop on a Polaris, a Honda, a Ducati, a Ski-Doo from our friends at Moon Motorsports in Monticello, who are celebrating 50 years as a family-owned and operated multi-line dealer in Monticello. And at Moon Motorsports, you'll find all those toys, the ATVs, the motorcycles, the snowmobiles. Check them out, moonmotorsports.com in Monticello. That is moonmotorsports.com in Monticello. Take that, Phil Mackey. How about that?
That was very seamless, Declan. You've done a great job with the reads.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, sir. Done. You got to get out there.
Four question Friday comes up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, again, we continue Purple Daily, 7 days a week, brought to you by our friends at Surly Brewing and also coming to you from the TCL studios. Enjoy more with TCL. Declan, I will talk to you tomorrow.